ਅੱਜ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਾਕ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਹੌਟ ਟੌਪਿਕ।
ਅਕਾਲ ਚੈਨਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰੋ। ਨਵੀਂ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼ ਦੀ ਨੋਟੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਬੈਲ ਆਈਕਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਲਿੱਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਾ ਭੁੱਲਣਾ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਮੈਂ ਉਸਪਾਲ ਜਾਲੀ। ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਦੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਦੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦਾ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਫਸਟ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਦਿਸ ਈਅਰ 2021 ਦਾ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਦਿੰਦਾ 2021 ਦੀਆਂ। ਦੋ ਵੀ ਗੋਇੰਗ ਥਰੂ ਦ ਬੈਡ ਟਾਈਮ, ਨਾਟ ਓਨਲੀ ਦ UK, ਦ ਹੋਲ ਵਰਲਡ, ਬਟ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਫਰਸਟ ਬਣਦਾ ਬੀਇੰਗ ਦ ਫਸਟ ਸ਼ੋਅ। ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੁਬਾਰਕਬਾਦ ਦੇਣਾ ਔਰ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੱਬ ਤੰਦਰੁਸਤ ਰੱਖੇ ਔਰ ਖੁਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਵੇ। ਅੱਜ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਾਕ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਹੌਟ ਟੌਪਿਕ। ਬੇਸ਼ੱਕ ਆਲਮੋਸਟ ਜਸਟ ਅੰਡਰ ਦਾ ਈਅਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਵਾਇਰਸ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ ਮਾਰਚ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾਸਟ ਈਅਰ। ਆਈ ਡੋਂਟ ਥਿੰਕ ਇਨਫ ਵੀ ਨੋ ਇਨਫ ਇਵਨ ਨਾਓ ਐਸ ਟੂ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਕੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ। ਵੈਕਸੀਨ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਉਹ ਨਿਕਲੀ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਲੱਗਣੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। The most ਸੋਚਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਦੇਰ ਆਰ ਲੋਟ ਆਫ ਵੀ ਕਾਲ ਇਟ WhatsApp ਡਾਕਟਰਸ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਆਪੋ ਆਪਣੀ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਵਾਇਰਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਐਂਡ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਆਈਦਰ ਵੀ ਬਿਕਮ ਟੋਟਲੀ ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵ or we start believing in them or we get confused. ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਮੱਦੇਨਜ਼ਰ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ that's why I just managed to get a frontline doctor, a doctor from a family of doctors, politicians, Lords and the Lady Singh, but a professional family ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ and I'll be talking to him in detail about the corona and the vaccine as well. I think there's a need ਕਿ ਜੋ ਵੈਕਸੀਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਹਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਬੜੀ ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵਿਟੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਚਲੋ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਬਹੁਤਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਜ਼ਾਇਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ, ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੈਸਟ ਨੂੰ ਇਨਵਾਈਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕਾਰਡੀਓਲੋਜਿਸਟ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਬਲਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਵਾਸਨ। ਭਾਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਪਹਿਲੇ ਤੇ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ। He comes from South London, which is quite far to travel. ਮੈਂ appreciate ਕਰਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਫਰਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਭਾਜੀ।
Thank you for the invitation. It's an honour to be here.
Honest, no, it's nice to see. Last time ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਚੈਨਲ ਨੇ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਲੋੜ ਪਈ ਹੈ, the family, not only him, the whole family always jump into the offer and try to help us one way or the other. ਪਹਿਲੇ ਤੇ ਨਵਾਂ ਸਾਲ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ। You know,
thank you. Same to you. Happy New Year.
We almost have forgotten that because what the country is going through.
Exactly.
And, you know.
Yeah, very difficult to wish.
Very difficult
to wish Happy New Year in this current environment. But we have to try. We have to try.
ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, you know, there ਦੋ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਲਾਈਫ 'ਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਇੱਕ ਮੈਡੀਸਨ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ।
Yeah.
The confidence. So you have to have both. You can't have just one. ਕੱਲੀ ਮੈਡੀਸਨ ਖਾਈ ਜਾਓਗੇ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਟਰਸਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰੇਗੀ।
Yeah, no, correct. Absolutely right.
Positive mind ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ।
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Got to keep your positivity.
Positive mind ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ, you know, always ਜੋ ਵੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ 'ਚ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ we need to fight it, we need to face it together. ਅਸੀਂ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੀ ਆਊਟਲੁੱਕ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਚੇਂਜ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਨਾ when you in lockdown ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਇੰਪਰੂਵਮੈਂਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਵੋ। ਚੇਅਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਟਰਕਚਰ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਚੇਂਜ ਕਰੋ, ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਸਟਾਈਲ ਚੇਂਜ ਕਰੋ that you believe you're in a different place. Otherwise depression is just around the corner. ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਕਿ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਜੋ ਬਚ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਦੇ ਆਰ ਸਫਰਿੰਗ ਥਰੂ ਲੋਟ ਆਫ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਐਟ ਦ ਮੋਮੈਂਟ। ਸੋ ਵਿਲ ਟਾਕ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਦੈਟ। ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ, ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਦੀ ਵਾਇਰਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਇਟਸ ਔਨ ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਹਾਈ ਫਿਗਰ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਰੂਮ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਫਿਗਰ ਦਿਖਾ ਸਕੀਏ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਫਿਗਰਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਲੇਟੈਸਟ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਇਨ ਦਾ UK, ਅਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। This is the latest figures we have. ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਪਏ ਹੋ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਓਵਰ 100,000 ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਪਰ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ। ਡੈਥਸ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ 2,145,000 ਵਰਲਡ ਵਾਈਡ। ਸੋਰੀ, ਥੀਸ ਆਰ ਦ ਵਰਲਡ ਵਾਈਡ ਵਨਸ। ਟੋਟਲੀ ਵਰਲਡ ਵਾਈਡ ਵਾਲੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ। ਹੁਣ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਕਿੰਗਡਮ ਦੇ। ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਸੁਖਦੇਵ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਾਂਗਾ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਦੇਰ ਰਹਿਣ ਦੇ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫਿਗਰ ਨੇ ਨਾ I'm to read that very slowly ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਜਾਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਨੇ। ਸ਼ੁਕਰ ਕਰੋ ਰੱਬ ਦਾ, ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰੋ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਨੰਬਰ 'ਚ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨਾਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ। ਐਂਡ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਦ ਮੋਸਟ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਥਿੰਗ। ਡੋਂਟ ਜਸਟ ਸੀ ਦਿਸ ਫਿਗਰ ਔਨ ਦ ਸਕਰੀਨ just over 300,000 and that's just over under 100,000. This is a lot of people who have lost lives. A lot of people actually ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਨਫੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਅਗਰ ਨੰਬਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਉੱਪਰ, ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਇਹ ਫਿਗਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਬਜ਼ੋਰਬ ਕਰੋ। ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਨਾਲ you don't want to be your number in one of those ones increase ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਸ਼ੋ ਹੈਗਾ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੇ ਵੈਕਸੀਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਦੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਸਤੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਵੈਕਸੀਨ ਦੀ I like to touch on the virus itself. We are at the highest peak at the moment, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had the first peak and the first lockdown, and now we're in the midst of a second a peak, which is potentially as bad, if not worse, than the first one. And these are completely unprecedented times in the health service. We are just not able to cope. So we as we always do in the health service manage as best we can, but none of us who are working in sort of acute hospitals in primary care have ever seen anything like this before. This is completely unprecedented, and we are where we are at the moment, and the key is how we can prevent things from getting worse. What we don't want, obviously, is a third spike, a third major lockdown. We want to have some fun in 2021. Maybe later in the year
doctor,
we can.
When the first happened, there's a prediction, like we said, like you just mentioned, but the third one, okay. Yep. People don't listen to that because they think it's only kind of a prediction. The second phase was predicted. It happened, and please don't take it for granted that we just a prediction again. Third bhi ho sakdi hai. There's no. It all depends on the people at all.
Well, yes, and I think what will probably happen is we are currently in a pandemic, and what will eventually happen is this virus will probably become endemic, like the flu.
Endemic.
Endemic, and
That's a nice word, very encouraging to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully it will become like the flu, where maybe we will need to vaccinate every year.
Every year.
A new vaccine will be developed that will hopefully address any mutations, any new strains, and we will be able to offer the vaccine on an annual basis to those of us. That's the aim. We still have to get out of the pandemic before we can. So I don't think this virus will ever go away. I don't think it's one day we're going to say we're free of coronavirus.
Really?
It's how we get to a stage where it's controllable, manageable. Numbers of admissions are as low as they can be. Number of deaths, as you've demonstrated, the high number of deaths are as low as they can be. And we can sufficiently protect our population from the catastrophe that has been going on, as you say, for nearly a year now.
चीज़ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि मैं चाहूँगा कि तुसी डॉक्टर दे क्योंकि मैं जो बोलांगा तो मेरे वर्ड दा वेट नहीं होएगा because I'm not professional like these people from the front line and the doctor again. They're the professional. These are the people we must take it at that 100%. Please on the show देखो मैं चाहूँगा कि कितने न कितने थोड़ी मदद होएगी जेरी गल्ला बता जेरे डॉक्टर ने दसे ना कि I don't think this is going to go forever. Now मैं contradict करना अपने आप में one hand we telling you to be very positive and be constructive and we're going to fight through together. At the same time, I कहना पे कि this is not going to go for a long time. So that's a discouraging. But अगर जे तुसी उन्हें positively सोचो, it's not discouraging. You're going to work together. We're going to fight it. We're going to finish that quicker than ever we can think about.
That's the current aim. I mean, we're in crisis mode at the moment, and the key for us, as a country, as a health service, is to get out of this crisis so that we can, go back to some form of normality. What will eventually happen, I don't think we really know. So, I think the key is to focus on where we are now and try and prevent it from getting worse.
When मैं देखा जा रहा है, we're going to talk about the hospitals because frontline again, just under 38,000 in the hospital at the moment.
Yep.
And there were over 4,000 on ventilators.
Correct.
Which is a very high number. This is a lot higher at the peak of the first wave.
Correct.
Yeah?
Correct.
How are the hospitals managing at the moment? Where are they?
Well, it's absolutely, I'll use the word again, unprecedented. None of us, have ever seen this before. Every day, the top commands in the hospital will meet and discuss, the problems for that day, what's anticipated. There's feedback constant feedback and conversations with government structures such as NHS England. You know, people who need ventilators and we can't offer them in London, maybe transfer to outside London. We're transferring people to the Midlands, to Yorkshire. You know, we just have to. It's like a war. It's crisis management. We have to just deal with it as it comes. And you know, for a service that is so overrun and essentially underfunded, I think I'm biased because I'm in it. I think we do a miraculous job and an amazing job given the circumstances. And so we just have to plough on with that and try and, you know, get over this.
But you know, even besides this pandemic, ਜਦੋਂ start ਹੋਇਆ last year March ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, the hospitals, the NHS is still under pressure all the time.
Yep.
The way things are in the country, ਠੰਡੀ ਕਰਕੇ, ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਕਰਕੇ, the other diseases and everything else. On top of this is come onto the NHS as a burden. When it's really, we're trying to bring out awareness ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿ ਬਾਹਰ NHS ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਡੀਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇੰਨੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਸੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਦੀ ਕੰਪਲੇਂਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਵੇਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ we got 6 months ਦੀ ਵੇਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ 8 ਮਹੀਨਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਵੇਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ now everybody's forgotten about that complaint we're just worried that we don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah, and that's the other problem with the pandemic is that people who would need treatment are either scared of coming to hospital or have been put off coming to hospital. From the cardiac, I'm a cardiologist, as you know. From the cardiac perspective, certainly in the first wave, people with chest pain were not presenting, people with heart attacks were not presenting, and so.
I was going to ask you that actually.
There's that side of it. People with cancers remain, you know, people who are waiting tests to diagnose cancers. I mean, we're prioritising, you know, cancers, heart diseases. We always do the urgent things, but you're you know, the effect of the pandemic isn't just about the virus. It's about, and also the beds all being taken by COVID patients. Is we don't have beds to manage other patients. We don't have, you know, if there's a major road traffic accident outside my hospital, we will struggle to find beds to manage those patients. So it's about the global health. It's not just about the pandemic. It's a knock-on effect. So the quicker we can resolve this, the quicker we can get people off ventilators, the quicker we can prevent people from becoming ill, we can return to where we were before, which was still, you know, as you say, a very difficult environment. You know, the winter pressures every year in the NHS is huge, but it's, you know, it's relatively simple compared to where we are now, and we would probably, you know, quite be happy to get back to those, and you know, try and get the health of the population as good as it can be.
Would you agree with me? Because I haven't got the figures or the facts on this. Because people panic and people are really going into the depression cases are increased, cardiac arrest is on the increase.
Yep.
We might not have a figure on that, but do you, being a cardiologist, do you feel that there is an increase on the sector?
There was definitely in the first wave, definitely an increase of people who did not present with the heart attacks as they would do normally. They didn't call ambulances, they didn't attend A&E. We saw them with the after effects of once the heart attack has happened and they may have heart failure. There was definitely an increase in number of cardiac arrests where people who didn't seek help in a timely fashion had cardiac arrests. So absolutely, from the cardiac perspective, which I can talk about, yes, we did see that. And the lesson is always, I mean, the message is, if you are unwell, we will treat you. We will, you know. Of course, you will, you know. So if you're worried, if you've got, you know, you shouldn't be scared of coming to hospital. We take precautions. And different to the first wave, if you like, we're much more able to test now. We can do immediate COVID tests. We can, you know, put you in bays and in wards which are COVID negative. So you shouldn't be scared of coming to hospital if you need treatment.
I'll continue on this one. मैं पहला जो telephone repeat कर देना. You know, देखो, मैं जी अपने खुद ही गल करा. I'm not able to speak to somebody actually who had the COVID, जिन्हें suffer किया isolation सिगा, उन्हें दा how did they manage to come through it, की तकलीफ हुई, you know, how did they do it? अगर जो कोई मिलेगा भी तो no one is prepared to go and meet those people to talk to them. You know, बेशक थोड़े close है, गिने कुछ भी है, गिना immediately start keeping a distance. Hang on a minute, that guy had was positive. So I don't think I'm going to go anywhere near it. मैं चाहूँगा कि प्लीज़ टेलीफोन नंबर शायद स्क्रीन पे होगा चलेगा 0208-571-4279 जिन्हें भी किसी ने अनफॉर्चुनेटली तुम पॉजिटिव ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਆਪਣਾ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰੋ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਔਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੱਲਾ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰਿਕਵਰ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਔਰ ਵਰ ਯੂ ਲੱਕੀ ਇਨਫ ਟੂ ਹੈਵ ਦ ਫਰਸਟ ਡੋਜ਼ ਆਫ ਦ ਵੈਕਸੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਛਾ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ ਅਗਰ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਸਫਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਸੀਗਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਡੂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਿਓ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਯੂਰ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਵਿਦ ਅਸ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਇਹਦੀ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਕਾਰਡੀਓ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਯੂ ਟ੍ਰਾਈਂਗ ਟੂ ਕੋਪ ਵਿਦ ਐਜ਼ ਮਚ ਐਜ਼ ਯੂ ਕੈਨ ਡੂ ਇਟ ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੈਂ ਰੀਅਲੀ ਉਮੀਦ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਕਿ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਕੌਨਫੀਡੈਂਸ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਸਟੈਪ ਮੂਵ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਹੀ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਹਟੇ ਹੋ ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਅਗੋ ਕਿ ਪੀਪਲ ਆਰ ਰਿਲੈਕਟੈਂਟ ਉਹ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਡੈਮੇਜ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਬਲੀ ਹੈਡ ਅ ਕਾਰਡੀਅਕ ਅਰੈਸਟ অর ਵਾਟਐਵਰ ਦ ਲਾਸਟ ਥਿੰਗ ਆਈ ਵਾਂਟ ਟੂ ਡੂ ਇਜ਼ ਕਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਈਂਡ ਚ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਚਲੇ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਬਸ ਮੈਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਵਾਂਗਾ that fear has gone into everybody's mind.
Yeah, with some justification, I can understand the fear, but all we can do is, as in the health profession, in our industry, in our profession, is to reassure people that if they need help, that the help will always be there. If you call an ambulance, the ambulance will come. If you need to come to hospital, we will treat you. We will get the best. You know, the NHS, again, I may be biased, offers a world-class service for a government healthcare system, and I think people will get excellent treatment. We just have to modify how we work at the moment because of the COVID pandemic.
No, you're not biased because you said it very rightly. In a minute, I'll give you some figures, especially when you're going to come to the vaccine. Kitne centres, what places have they opened? Different sites to speed up the process, which is pretty good. They're handling it.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. I'm no fan of the government, and I'm not here to sort of say the government have done well, but the way that we've handled it, the way that we've got the vaccine out there, the way that people have, the current number I think is 3.5 million have now received the first dose.
5.8 million.
Sorry, I'm out of date. So 5.8 million.
These are the latest ones.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and we're often quick to focus on the negative and say this hasn't happened, and a lot of things could have been done better, and I don't think that's a discussion for today. But the fact that we're getting it out there, the fact that we are striving to protect our population is the most important thing now. We are where we are with the pandemic, and the way we're going to get out of it is for as many people as possible to get the vaccine, get vaccinated, and ultimately be protected.
Doctor, when second phase, which is quite severe one, we're not going to point fingers ke kisi nu blame karna, like doctor said ke NHS has done their best whatever they could do. The health services वगैरह, the professionals, medical ਜਿਹੜੇ team ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ lockdown ਦੀ procedure ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਸੀ with the mask, distance ਵਗੈरਹ, the sanitizer ਵਗੈरਹ. Obviously ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹਾਂ, who is to be blamed indirectly because it's general public?
What, for the pandemic?
Yes, because the increase.
I don't think. I think, we've never in our generation has never seen this before. So I think a lot of the plans, the strategies, because we haven't dealt with it before, we had to make plans. I think we're just in the midst of a horrible virus, the likes of which we haven't seen for over 100 years, affecting a population. I don't think it's. I personally don't think it's helpful to look and say where the blame lies and why people, I think we are where we are, and I think what we need to do is focus on preventing another big wave from happening and getting our population healthier and more protected.
Okay, ਤੁਸੀਂ very bada acha answer ਕੀਤਾ. We're not trying to blame anyone, but I'm trying to get the facts ਕਿ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਕਾਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ. There could be a reason behind it. Now you just said a few minutes ago that prediction for the third phase we ho sakta hai. Yeah? Why did we say that? Because obviously on the general behavior of the public.
Well, I think you could argue, I mean, you could say the general behaviour of the public, you could say that the virus is mutating and that's why this wave is potentially worse than the first one. If it mutates more, could there be a third wave? So there are so many uncertainties I don't think you can accurately predict. I think the difficulty is that, as you said in the lead, there is a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of, I sometimes see or I get forwarded, this is all a myth. Our wards are empty.
I've seen all that.
This is all a conspiracy theory. I would invite anyone. I'm very happy to have them come to my hospital and visit for a day and see what we have to deal with. They think there's empty wards and we're not treating people. Come and see. So if unfortunately there's misinformation and people want to believe that misinformation, then they're less likely to take it seriously. And added to the fact that the vast majority, we are in a pandemic and we have had, nearly 100,000 deaths. But statistically, if you're a healthy 60-year-old and you get the virus, your chance of dying is about 1%. So people will think, that's great odds, why should I restrict my lifestyle? Why should I? And for them individually, that might be fine. But what we're talking about here is a sort of public health initiative. Is we're trying to protect. If you get infected, we don't want you to pass it to someone who may then die from that infection. And that's the message to get across. And whether the current culture is we just look after ourselves and we're not so bothered about other people, or whether I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, as again, I'll sort of keep repeating the same principles. We are where we are, and we have to sort of learn how to deal with it. And I think part of it with the public is to educate. And I think the vast majority of people do get it. Unfortunately, as you say, there is a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of people who for whatever reason have their perceptions and theories about what's going on. And all we can do as health professionals is to educate people. We can't force people. We can't force people to stay home. Well, you can. The government are trying to, but we can't force people to take the vaccine on. All we can do is say to them, these are the benefits. And ultimately, with any medical intervention that we offer, what's the risk of taking it and what's the risk of not taking it?
Exactly.
And the risk, what people have to appreciate with vaccines is it kind of has to be more, you have to be more broad-minded about it. The risk is not the risk just to you, because you say, well, okay, the vaccine, this, and I get, my risk of dying if I get COVID is very, very low. Is what if I, get the virus and then I come back to, give it to my mother or give it to my father or my grandfather, and it's conceptually very, very difficult. And as I don't expect people to be able to absorb it all. As I say, we just have to keep sending the message out. We have to keep giving the information, keep saying this is what we think is best.
That's why we do the show. Hopefully people will get
I hope so.
All we can do is, like, we get the professionals to give you the advice or the awareness. Baki ki karna, ki nahi karna, you're sensible people. Tusi apni bhi professional medical team ko pata kar sakde ho. Talk to your GP or whoever you wish to talk to. मैं second part ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਵੈਕਸੀਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਾਪਸ ਹੀ talk about the isolation ਦਾ. Then we next after the break we'll move on to the vaccine as well. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ positive declare ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ, you're supposed to stay about 10 days into isolation. ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਬੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਕੋਈ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਸਫਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ. We like to hear from the person who actually got positive. You just lie under the mercy. There's no treatment. There's nothing much. तुसी पानी पी लो, गरम ये करो, वो करो, पैरासीटामोल लो.
I mean,
but there's no real treatment to kill.
So for the vast majority of people who get the viral infection, so fevers, coughs, what we call body ache, myalgia, there are other symptoms, headaches. It's like any other virus. There is no actual cure for that virus, and what we call supportive treatment: drink lots of fluid, rest, painkillers as required. The danger is if you get the second phase of the COVID, where the body develops a response against the virus and starts affecting your lungs, and you get into a very severe illness. Which then often requires hospitalisation and maybe ventilation.
But once you've been declared positive, how soon you can get that symptoms, serious ones?
Well, it's variable. I mean, you know, people want to ring in. I know people who have been tested positive, had routine testing, have had no symptoms and never tested positive. I know people who have had every single symptom of the virus, every single one: loss of taste, loss of smell, severe cough, high fever, and then tested negative. So again, you know, we're not quite sure whether, you know, what there is always some, you know, a degree of unreliability with the testing, which is with all medical tests. But it's very much on an individual basis. The vast majority of people who get the virus who are young and healthy will just have the viral illness.
Doctor, sorry, maafi chahunga because we got to go for the break.
Sure.
Assi chhoti ji break lavange. Please, मैं पहला क्या क्या हटिया जिन्हों भी किसी ने unfortunately you were declared positive, do call in. Would be nice जिधर doctor साहब ने क्या कि we like to talk to the person actually who suffered. कितना कोप कितना तुसी थोड़ा बता अपना experience share करो ताकि जो लोग आज बैठे ने उन्हें पता लग सके, थोड़ा awareness हो सके. Telephone number है 0208 571 4279. मैं फिर रिपीट करना 0208 571 4279. Please call करो, बहुत important है. All we're trying to do is कि आज शो तो बाद you will feel lot different, lot better, lot positive. और यही चीज़ होएगी जो ये चीज़ दी छेती ख़त्म होएगा. Sooner, the most positive.
Absolutely.
Please stay tuned. Don't go too far. ਅਸੀਂ ਛੋਟੇ ਜਿਹੇ break ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹੁਣੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਆਨੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ. ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ.
ਅਕਾਲ ਚੈਨਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰੋ ਨਵੀਂ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼ ਦੀ ਨੋਟੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਬੈਲ ਆਈਕਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਲਿੱਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਾ ਭੁੱਲਣਾ
ਹੁਣੇ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ. Honestly, I hope you did not miss this. ਮੇਰੇ ਪਾਸ cardiologist Dr. Balvinder Wasan, frontline doctor, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਬੜੇ professional, couldn't get any better person to give advice. Especially ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ second part ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ the vaccination ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ. Talking about the vaccination of the first, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ start ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ. 5.8 million people have been vaccinated in the UK so far. These are the kind of very latest figures again. And to help out the speeding up of the vaccination, there were 70 pharmacies being offered ke oh vaccinate kar sakde ne. Over 1000 GP practitioners ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਹਦੀ. About 250 hospitals, and there's still many more sites coming over in different part of the boroughs all over England to speed up the first phase of the vaccination. ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ MP ਮਿਸਟਰ ਤਲਮਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੜੇ ਫਾਈਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਹਰ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ, ਅਸੀਂ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ. We'll talk about it after the clip.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. This afternoon we'll be publishing much more detailed local information, and so that will be available. And as the rollout continues, we'll publish more and more granular information. He's quite right about Slough has had a tough time in this pandemic, but it will get both the vaccination centre, which is great. And it was a real pleasure earlier in the week having a Zoom with members of the Slough NHS team who have delivered this, every single resident of the care home in Slough being vaccinated, getting their first jab. So an absolutely terrific performance by the team in Slough, and I'm glad that he's as proud of them as I am, and they are a model that all can look good.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ overall ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ NHS is doing a wonderful job, and they're very much within the line they were supposed to do the vaccination. ਉਹਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ. Obviously they're trying to finish off the first phase within this month. January ਤੱਕ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਸਾਰਾ, hopefully.
For what? Sorry.
The vaccination.
Well, it's in a structured fashion. So we're over 80s, over 70s. So I think again, my data may be out of date, but I think the over 80s, I think 80% have been vaccinated
80%
now.
have been, yes.
So we have to get through those. The vulnerable people. We're moving to the under 70s, etc., etc.
मेरे पास ना बड़े अच्छे क्वेश्चन, quite nice about the vaccination now, because this is the as the program is actually सारा मेरा मकसद ही सीगा कि vaccination की गल करनी. Then we started talking about the corona itself. बीमारी वो भी important सीगा. हुन you know मैं जिदा सी start ਵਿੱਚ किया सी डॉक्टर साहब, because people are very confused and other they're totally negative or confused. So how safe is the vaccination, or does one have to have it? Though they have a choice at the moment, but you know, how do people know? You have indirectly answered that question just before the break. You got to balance out what's the benefit and what's not or the damage ki hai.
Yeah.
You know, minuses and pluses. Then you can always
Correct.
decide which way to go.
Correct. So the plan ultimately would be to vaccinate everyone. That would be the public health plan. In order to obtain what we call herd immunity, we need you know, the usual figures, around 90% of the population vaccinated. So in order to protect us from the virus as a population, everyone should have the vaccine. Now, you know, if you asked a question about the safety of the vaccine again, you know, I'll use the same word, in an unprecedented fashion, the vaccine has come out in a very short space of time to meet the crisis that we're in the midst of. And I can understand why people may be skeptical and say, well, if the vaccine's been created that carefully, but I think that's more of a credit to the companies and the scientists who've created the vaccine rather than anything conspiratorial or dubious about it. So
But
people,
it said
people
that it's
have
about
to,
95% safer.
and the clinical trials have shown that it is. So there's elements. Well, there's two elements. If you're asking about safety, that the clinical trials have shown there's no, you know, no obvious risk to having the vaccine. There are certain groups of people where maybe they may not be suitable for the vaccine, and if you go for it, you know, if you're invited and you attend, you'll be asked those questions. And if you're not suitable, it'll be explained to you why you shouldn't have the vaccine, where you might be at higher risk. For instance, if you've had a severe allergic reaction before to a vaccine. In terms of efficacy, which is how protected you are, the three major vaccines which are now licensed around the world are about 90% effective. So 90% of the population, 90% of people will be protected against a severe form of the illness. And what we also know is that with these new strains, people will say, well, okay, we've got the vaccine treated the virus from a year ago. What about the mutated virus? And so that's when I said, actually, we may need to have an annual, you know, when it becomes endemic, and we need to have address mutations in the virus. But actually, what we do know is that if you have the vaccine, and even if you have a form of the mutated virus, there is evidence that you are protected from having a much more severe illness. So you are still protected by having the vaccine. So there's no real reason,
Makes sense.
from my point of view, that you should not have the vaccine.
As you know, we carry on because it's quite important to the question again. There's a caller, there's a caller.
Sure.
Hello, ji, Sri Akaal. Hello.
हेलो हाँ सत श्री अकाल जी
Sri Akaal ji, अपना नाम दसना चाहोगे और कित्थों बोलते हो?
मैं ਸਲੋ ਤੋਂ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ
हाँ जी, स्वागत करते हैं, ਅਸੀਂ सुन रहे हैं। ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ?
जो कुछ नहीं वाचिंग जो प्रोग्राम है ना जिदा मैं ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ
ਹਾਂ
तो ਬਹੁਤ ਜਿਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਅਕਾਲ ਚੈਨਲ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇਖੇ ਸੋ ਨੌਲੇਜੇਬਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਆਲ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ
ਹੈ ਨਾ तो टुडे देखिया ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੈਂਸਿਟਿਵ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਐਸਲਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਵਾਲਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਬੜਾ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਤਸੱਲੀ ਹੋਈ तो दैट्स व्हाई आई एम कॉलिंग यू बिकॉज मैं ਜਿਹਦਾ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਦੈਟਸ ਵਾਈ ਆਪਣਾ ਨਾਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਆਈ ਐਮ ਕੀ ਵਰਕਰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ
ਨਹੀਂ ਦੈਟਸ ਓਕੇ ਦੈਟਸ ਨੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ
ਓਕੇ ਹਾਂਜੀ तो मेरे को भी जिदा पॉजिटिव हो गया सी तो सफर किया तो हुण मैं अपना जिहड़ा वैक्सीनेशन वो ले ली हैगी मेरी तो आई एम सो हैप्पी आफ्टर दैट
ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਦੇਰ ਆਈਸੋਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਡਿਕਲੇਅਰ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ 3 ਵੀਕਸ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਹਾਰਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ
ਰੀਅਲੀ ਬੈਡ ਹੈ
ਸੌਰੀ
ਕਾਫੀ ਹਾਰਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ?
ਬਹੁਤ ਹਾਰਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਵੈਰੀ ਹਾਈ ਟੈਂਪਰੇਚਰ ਕਫ ਪੇਨ ਸੋ ਥਰੋਟ ਯੂ ਨੋ ਸੋ ਮੈਨੀ ਥਿੰਗਸ ਐਂਡ ਅਦਰ ਥਿੰਗਸ ਆਵਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤੋਂ ਡਰੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਫੇਸ ਕਰੋ ਜੇ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਅਨਫੋਰਚੂਨੇਟਲੀ ਜੇ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ तो मैं देखा ਉਹ
ਹੈਲੋ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹੈਲੋ
ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਥੋੜੇ ਮੈਂ ਸੁਣ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਜਾਵੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ
Okay.
ਦੇਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਬੜਾ ਹਾਰਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਲਿੱਤਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ 3 ਵੀਕਸ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਬੁਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਤੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਦੌੜ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਮਦਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਊ ਡਿਡ ਯੂ ਫੀਲ ਹਾਊ ਡਿਡ ਯੂ ਗੋ ਥਰੂ ਦੈਟ
ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਜਦੋਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਆਈ ਐਮ ਲੱਕੀ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਹ ਲਓ ਕੀ ਵਰਕਰ ਸੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਮੈਨੇਜਰ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਐਂਡ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਜੋ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਟੈਪ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਜੋ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰੋ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗਾਈਡਲਾਈਨਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰੋ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਆ ਹਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਰਿੰਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਦਿਲ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕੱਪ ਟੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਵਟ ਐਵਰ ਯੂ ਵਾਂਟ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਔਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲਾਈ ਡਾਊਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆਈ ਨੋ ਉਸਲਾ ਵਾਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲੈਗਸ ਪੇਨ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਬੋਡੀ ਪੇਨ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਖੜਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਬੈਠ ਸਕਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ
ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹਾਊ ਸੂਨ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਬਿਫੋਰ ਯੂ ਵੈਂਟ ਟੂ ਗੈਟ ਦੈਟ ਟੈਸਟ ਕਿ ਯੂ ਥਿੰਕ ਯੂ ਸਫਰਿੰਗ ਯੂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਈਨ ਕੀ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਹੋਇਆ
ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਫਸਟ ਵੀਕ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਸੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਨਾਰਮਲ ਕਾਫ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਨਾਰਮਲ ਹੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਓਕੇ ਥੋੜਾ ਬਹੁਤਾ ਟੈਂਪਰੇਚਰ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਵਟ ਐਵਰ ਦਾ ਫਲੂ ਵੀ ਗੋਟ ਆਲ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਸਮਥਿੰਗ ਲਾਈਕ ਦੈਟ but later on my manager said no you need to stay home and then contact the GP said no you need to stay in but take it easy so ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਡਰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਈਵਨ ਆਈ ਐਮ ਵਰਕਿੰਗ ਵਿਦ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਤੋ ਡਰ ਹੈ ਸੀ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਕੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਬਟ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਔਰ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਠੀਕ ਕਰ ਲੈਣਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ
ਵੈਰੀ ਗੁੱਡ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲਈ ਗਈ ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਝ ਪੀਂਦੀ ਰਹੀ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੀਨਸ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਐਟਲੀਸਟ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਆਈ ਪਾਸ ਮਾਈ ਯੂਰਿਨ ਸਮਥਿੰਗ ਲਾਈਕ ਦੈਟ ਯੂ ਹੈਵ ਟੂ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਵੈਟ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਹੁਣ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਵੈਟ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਸਲਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਇਹ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ
ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫੁੱਲੀ ਰਿਕਵਰਡ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੁਣ ਆਫਟਰ ਹਾਊ ਮੈਨੀ ਮੰਥਸ ਯੂ ਸਿੰਸ ਯੂ ਹੈਡ ਦਿਸ
oh my god you know sometime at work still feel like out of breath sometime ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਪਰ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨਾ ਮੈਂ ਨਾਟ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਲਾਈਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ 'ਚ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਆ ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਲੰਘ ਗਈ ਸੀਗਾ ਇਹ ਬੈਡ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਲੰਘ ਗਈ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਇਹ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ ਸੋ ਦੈਨ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਯੂ ਵਿਲ ਗੋ ਆਈ ਡੋਨਟ ਨੋ ਬਟ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਸੋਚੋ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਜੋ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹਾਂ ਪਰਹੇਜ਼ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰੋ ਜੋ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਮਾਸਕ ਪਾਓ ਸੈਨੀਟਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਕਰੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੈਂਡ ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਆਈ ਫੀਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਸਾਇੰਟਿਸਟ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਾਸਕ ਪਾਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੈਨੀਟਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਕਰੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੈਂਡ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੈਕਸੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਲੈਣੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਔਰ ਲੈਕ ਆਫ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਆਵਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ
ਜੀ ਮਾਫੀ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਸੀਗਾ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਡਿਕਲੇਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਾਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਐਪਰੀਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਐਂਡ ਐਨਕਰੇਜਮੈਂਟ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਫੀਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਮਾਫੀ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਹੋਰ ਕਾਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਉਠਾਉਣਾ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਣੇ ਤੇ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਆਮ ਗਲੈਡ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਸਫਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਸੀਗਾ ਭਾਜੀ ਜਰਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੈਗੇ ਆਮ ਟ੍ਰਾਈਂਗ ਟੂ ਰਨ ਥਰੂ ਐਜ਼ ਮਚ ਐਜ਼ ਆਈ ਕੈਨ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਉਹਨੇ ਵੈਕਸੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਲੈ ਲਿੱਤੀ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਡੋਜ਼ ਲੈ ਲਿੱਤਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਹਾਊ ਯੂ ਨੋ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਹੁਣ ਇੰਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਦ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਆਸਕਿੰਗ ਦਿਸ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਇਜ਼ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਛੁੱਟੀ ਹੈ ਯੂ ਨੋ ਆਈ ਗੋਟ ਅ ਲਾਇਸੈਂਸ ਟੂ ਕਿਲ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ think ਮੈਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਜੋ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਕਰਾਂ ਬਟ ਦੈਟਸ ਨੋਟ ਅ ਫੈਕਟ ਇਜ਼ ਇਟ
What, once you've had the infection or once you've had the vaccine?
Once you had the vaccination.
No, I mean, well, there's a few issues with the vaccine. Is that even after the first dose, your maximum immunity doesn't occur for, some weeks after. I think it's about 2 weeks after the dose, and then again after the second dose. So it's definitely not you can do what you want and there's a license to kill. You have to take the advice. You have to behave. I think the government advice, I think it might even been today on the government briefing, was even if you've had the vaccine, and as we're telling people, behave as you've got the virus.
Exactly, that's what I meant.
Behave if you've got the virus. And until you are, you've had the second vaccine and your second dose of the vaccine and you're some weeks after that. But even then, there is concern that you may be, even though you're protected, you may carry the virus and then you may spread it. So
you can spread it.
So yeah, well, there's a theoretical risk, yes. So it should never be, I've got the vaccine, I'm free to do what I want. It's, I've got the vaccine, I'm on my way to being protected and protecting my family, my local community, my population.
Would be nice to think positive, but that doesn't mean you got a license to kill. कि जाके जो मर्जी करो, because there's a possibility कि तुसी हाले भी transmit कर सकते हो.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. This is going to be, it's going to be, as it's going to be a while till we're out of this, and where we all can say that we are, there is a maximum protection. So people, as boring as it is, and as difficult as it is for people, and I appreciate, the mental health issues, people being isolated. The only way is to continue to be vigilant, to as that amazing caller, I mean, she did most of my work for me, said, sanitize, wear a mask, do all the things we know, social distance. That has to continue.
That has to continue.
Has to continue, and the message is it has to continue. This is the vaccine in the initial phase, while we're vaccinating everyone, is a small part to getting to where we want to be.
Both important message from the caller and Dr. Saab Kolo कि विशेष सख्त वायरस होया या नहीं होया तुसी first time vaccination first dose ले लेता है behave as if you still had a virus और थोड़ी ओदी treatment हो रही है जिस तरह दूसरे लोग behave करते रहे गवर्नमेंट दी गाइडलाइन जला तुम मास्क पहन के 2 मीटर दा डिस्टेंस रखो सैनिटाइजर यूज करो जो भी गाइडलाइन दी गई उन्हें थोड़ा फॉलो करना पड़ेगा. The other thing you said was it's don't take it for granted that it's going to go within 3-4 months or 6 months. It's here to stay. How long it's going to stay, nobody can say that.
Yeah, I mean, we can make predictions, but it depends on numerous factors. So we can't give completely accurate predictions. But with the vaccine, this is the best hope we have that we can begin to get out of it.
Doctor, it's said, and no vaccine has ever been 100% effective. Mm-hmm. None of them. So basically, if we saying between 90 to 95 vaccine ready here, which is quite good.
Very good. It's very good. No medicine. Very few. I don't think I can name one medicine that is nothing is 100% effective. Nothing in life is 100% certain. But all we can do is maximize our chances. And again, it's to do with minimizing our risk and reducing the risk to both to ourselves and to those around us.
Doctor, when you had the first jab, is it true that within first 2 or 3 weeks you can actually get the infection again?
Yes, you can. Because again, yeah. So I've had people at my place of work who had the vaccination and then tested positive about a week later. Now, what we don't know is whether they already had the virus before when they had the vaccine, or they weren't sufficiently immune and picked up the virus. So yes, absolutely, that is a possibility. That's why people still have to be vigilant and people have to take care.
Doctor, last month I a message puchanga, which I would like you to tell the people in your own words. Hun jere vaccine de rahe ne immediately started. 5.8 million people have been already given in UK. The second dose is between 3 to 12 weeks. Jere senior doctors are they arguing jera inna gap rakya 12 weeks da oda jeri dose di strength hogi weaken ho jandi hai, and it should be cut down to half the time.
Yep.
Like 3 to 6 weeks.
Right.
So what you say on that?
So the 3-week is on the basis of what we call evidence-based medicine. So the trial gave the 2 doses 3 weeks apart. So that's the only evidence we have and the information we have. It may well be that giving the dose 6 or 12 weeks later is just as effective. We just don't have that actual information.
We don't.
We don't. Now, the public health physicians have said that there is what they've had to do is balance the risk of saying, what's better, immunizing or vaccinating, not immunizing, sorry, vaccinating a smaller number of people who get both their doses in a set amount of time, or giving a wider group of people the first dose and protecting. And so people who know far more about this than I do, as a simple cardiologist, will say that is the better option. So that's a government policy that's been advised through public health England and NHS England. So they've made that decision. I think as a medical profession, we've said, it seems, I think the official line is going from 3 weeks to 12 weeks seems quite a long time. And is there any scope to bring that down to, half the time, which would make us a bit happier and a bit more confident? And I think there is, reasonable evidence that the sooner you have the second dose, the more effective it is. But ultimately, it's a balance, and we have to buy into, if we're being told that the overall safety and the overall benefit to the population is that a larger number get the first dose, we have to go along with that.
Doctor, as you said, time very fast ja raha because I need to take a message from you as well before we finish the show. First dose to baad, there is a danger for a few weeks you could still be get the infection. What happens after the second dose? How positive or how strong you would be? There's no chances you reoccurring the.
Well, I mean, if you believe the numbers are 90% effective. So what they're saying is, if the vaccine is 90% effective, that if 10 people have the two doses, 9 out of those 10 will be protected, and they're theoretically one person may be at risk of receiving. Now, the mechanism of that may be mutated viruses, but again, we know that even if you have a slightly mutated form of the virus, by having the vaccine, you're still having a degree of protection. So even though people may say, well, what if I am in the 10% and I could still get, what's the point of having the vaccine? First of all, 90% is really good odds. 9 out of 10 is very good odds. But also, if you're that 1 out of 10, it may be that you just have, if you were going to have the illness and it would be very severe, by having the vaccine, you potentially have mitigated that and you have a less severe form of it. So I think there's benefit for everyone to have it done.
Doctor, you said most of the things what I want you to say, but I still like you to repeat in short words. Look at the camera, a message to the people, what the pluses and the minuses about the vaccine.
So as a health professional, there are no minuses to having the vaccine. The ultimate aim is only positive, because we are going to confer protection over ourselves, our families, our communities. A number of people or small groups of people who may be at risk of vaccine will be screened when you attend for it. There is really no reason, no safety reason, no government reason, no conspiracy reason that we should not accept the vaccine. So if you are offered the vaccine when it is your time to have it, please have it, because you are protecting yourself, you're protecting those around you, and ultimately, hopefully by vaccinating a critical amount of people, we will all be able to return to normal living, and that's got to be the aim.
Always, as show Mr. Kadir, this is just a talk show. My question, but I think general questions which are common questions people probably wanted to know. बड़े लोगों ने रिंग करके पहला थोड़े बहुत सवाल मन देते सीगे एंड दे विच जो तुसी करना दिस इज योर चॉइस बाय टेकिंग अ प्रोफेशनल एडवाइस फ्रॉम योर जीपी और योर प्रोफेशनल टीम ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਟੀਮ ਉਤੋਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਕੇ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੋ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਇਹੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਕਿ ਉਮੀਦ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਕਿ ਬਾय bringing the doctor ji on the show a professional in the front line ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਹੋਵੇਗਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਬਾਕੀ ਜੋ ਲੇਡੀ ਨੇ ਕਾਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ End of the day, Dr. Sahib, I cannot emphasize any better way, time after time, that the government the guideline hai, they, to kill this disease or to manage to walk free, get back to the normal life. Mask apna wear karo, keep the distances, and sanitizer use karo. These are the things you've got to keep in mind. मैं शो भी इतने भी ख़त्म करेगा कि ये चीज़ दे नाल तुसी प्लीज़ अपने जो तुसी लाइफ नू अडॉप्ट करेंगे ना चीज़ां even when you think we are clear of the COVID-19, fear jayega nahi dimag de vichon, and I don't think it should go really.
No, I agree. I mean these are good public health measures. Keep your hands clean. I mean, as doctors, obviously we do that all the time, but it's not a bad thing to risk, to minimise the spread of infection generally. So there will be lessons to be learned that we will hopefully take forward in our day-to-day lives when this is all over.
Doctor sir, lastly, मेरे हुनी mind च कल आई है, the vaccine, Pfizer and the Oxford, when they give you the first and the second dose, can they mix that, or how does it work?
Again, there's no evidence, there's no trial evidence because Pfizer, BioNTech would have done their set of trials, Oxford, AstraZeneca will have done their set of trials. No one received a mixed vaccine, but again, the decision by a very august group of scientists and public health officials feel that actually, again, the overall benefit of providing people with 2 doses, even if they're mixed, over waiting for the second dose of the same vaccine, will confer benefit. So we have to go along with that. And as you know, for any medical reasons, I can't see, I can't see if they say that why we should disbelieve them.
Quickly, just only but maybe a minute to go. As the frontline doctors, you know, you have a family, you've got a life. It's your profession. How do you feel about it?
I'll bore your audience by using the word unprecedented. None of us have been through this. None of us will probably ever go through this again to this degree. I said it's a generational thing. We've all had to make sacrifices, adjustments. You know, more so. You know, medicine. You could argue there's sacrifices to be made. You know, we cope with it. It depends on people's attitudes. I sort of, you know, I'll probably turn around when this is all over and say, where's the last 18 months gone, and how did that all happen? Currently, we're focused on protecting ourselves, protecting our patients. You know, and whilst I'm not a COVID doctor or directly looking after COVID patients, I want to be able to look after my patients. I want to be able to improve my patients' cardiac health, you know, treat heart attacks. I want to go back to the normal way of living. So it's tough. It has been tough, but it's tough for everyone, whether we're doctors, whether we're, you know, we get to go to work. We're employed, you know, in this pandemic. People have lost their jobs. People, you know, I cannot imagine and I cannot begin to say, you know, so we all have to cope.
Thank you so much. This was only a discussion between myself and the professionals, only trying to help get awareness. Like chat show, very much education, informative. Baki jo bhi tusi karna, always take a professional advice from the medical team. I think my best advice I give, follow the government guideline and just feel that this bamari is going to stay here, God knows for how long, and just be not scared, be careful.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, I think that lady was absolutely right. There's no, you know, even if you get it, the vast majority of people not to be scared of it, but be careful. Be careful, follow the advice, get vaccinated.
Thank you. In the end, toda sara da shukriya karda main umeed rakhda tonu program acha lagega. Next week same time same place pe mulaqat hogi kisi ਹੋਰ doctor de naal te apna ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.